Hello, everybody, and welcome to Brunch with Bigfoot, Michigan Rob. I'm your host, BMR, and joining me in Studio B, the lovely Krista Tweedy from the Blondes and the Booze Paranormal Podcast. Subscribe to them on YouTube if not already. We have a fantastic show. Duke Sullivan, World Bigfoot Radio, joins us. It'll be a fantastic show, a fun show, and we have an exclusive coming up a little later in the show from the one and only Duke Sullivan. Stay tuned for that. If this is your first time here, please subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and hit that alert bell, and subscribe to Bigfoot Michigan Rob on YouTube. We're also on Odyssey Radio, iHeartRadio, and Spreaker Radio, and where podcasts are found, you can find us, including KPNL Radio with the lovely Aunt Selene out in Oregon. I used to say Oregon. Now I found out it's called Oregon. Check it out, KPNL Radio. We're also on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Check out the About pages for all the social media. Don't forget to subscribe to Bigfoot Michigan Rob on YouTube, World Bigfoot Radio on YouTube, the Blondes and Booze Paranormal Podcast found on YouTube. If you like what we have to offer, you like the content, the Super Chat is open. Yes, the Super Chat is open. I appreciate each and every one of you in advance for that. Check out our About pages for show times and listings in your area. And don't forget, my new book, right here. I finally got a copy. Bigfoot Michigan Rob Presents True Cryptid Encounters, Book 1. Illustration by Jason McLean. That it's on Amazon. I pinned the link at the top of the page in chat for everybody. So I do appreciate that. And of course, as I made mention, we have plethora, as Dave Scott would say, of shows throughout the week. Mondays is Texas Front Porch on Texas Front Porch. You can find that at 9 o'clock in the East. Tuesdays, Van Buren Variety. He comes on at 8 in the East. Beyond BMR at 9 o'clock in the East. Jason McLean does something on Mysterious Library on Untold Radio AM. That's Wednesdays at 10. Go check out Jason. Also, Jason McLean questions everything. That's his channel. Subscribe. He drops videos twice a week. Him alongside Donnie Cho. Very interesting. Go check out Jason. Thursdays, right back here. Brunch with Bigfoot, Michigan Rob, 1 o'clock in the East. The Blondes, the Booze, the Paranormal Podcast. They also come on at 9 in the East tonight. Check out the Blondes. They got Barry Littleton on tonight. That'll be a fantastic show. If you need more woo with the Booze, the Blondes, the Booze Paranormal Podcast are Fridays at 9. Don't forget Saturday. Infamous Minds with Tex and Danielle Diva. That's at 3 in the East. And of course, Danielle Diva, she's on Wednesdays. I think she's got a new time. She's always changing her times. I think she's going to be on 8 Central on Wednesdays. So check out the Diva with the Diva Dimension. Saturdays, Jessica Jones, Space Hour Radio, Saturday and Sunday, 10 of these. She is, of course, the Cryptid Huntress. You can find her on YouTube as well with daily shows that she does put out. With that being said, I'm going to bring up the lovely Krista.
Hey.
What's happening, girl?
You see it.
I see it. Looking fine, looking good. Oh, I see a little shadow person in that license plate and back in from Missouri. What is that? Yeah. Is that your kid walking by or something?
I got a kid sitting right next to me. She's doing my real job for me. She's working for me today.
See how quick I am picking out the details? I'm not so quick when it comes to downloading stuff.
She's making price cards for me.
You know,
I got them all printed. She's got to cut them out and put them on cardstock. So it's a good job.
I already made mention tonight. You got Barry coming on. That's gonna be a great show. So check out, of course, Krista and Brandy tonight at 9 in the East with Barry Littleton. And I was this is gonna be a very exciting show. I've got Duke on. He's been on 3 or 4 times. We're talking a little Bigfoot, and we also have a special little presentation we're going to do twice in the show for everybody. An exclusive found only here on BMR's channel, Brunch with Bigfoot, Michigan Rob.
Awesome.
with that being said, I'm going to bring up my buddy, my friend, World Bigfoot Radio's Duke Sullivan.
Hey there.
Howdy, folks. How's everybody doing today?
It's Thursday, so it's that much closer to the weekend, so it's great.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're having really pleasant weather here for a change. Usually this time of the year it's scorching hot, and we had almost a month of that nonstop, no rain, and lots of wind too to create more amazing forest fires. So, and we had 7 of them going here locally, and then all of a sudden we actually got rain for 2 days, and since then the temperature dropped, and it's like barely around 70 right now.
That's perfect.
70. Yeah, it's perfect weather.
Yeah, now if my vehicle just worked so I could get out in the woods and go film somewhere Bigfoot, I'd be all happy. Brakes are out.
Oh.
It's one of the things I love about having you on the show, and you'll probably be on it for Christmas, because I always have you on right around Christmas time as well. One of my favorite holidays. Boots on the ground, and you've got, I'm not going to say how many years you've been doing this, dude, but a long time. You're kind of like my mentor, one of the first guys that I came across when I was having my problems. And, the first time I was looking up this, who is this Duke Sullivan dude? And then the first video I saw of you, Duke, I thought this was you. It was a video, you've put it out years ago, and I thought it was you. It was a man, a dude, it was not you, with a fish in his hand. It might have been Blaine Tyler. I don't know. But then I thought that was you. And then when I started perusing World Bigfoot Radio, I said, oh, now that guy looks like a Duke,
Looked like a hickbilly anyway.
Yeah, well, I was going to refrain from the adjectives, but yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, no, I own that one. That's like Kevin Lang from the Glag Saga. He said he was a hickbilly. And I'm like, yeah, well, I'm living over here in the same area, so I'm a hickbilly too. I know. I got an Indian arrowhead on my hat. How much more hickbilly do you need to be?
There you go.
Yeah. You mentioned Kevin Lang, and for those that don't know, you've got a great. I don't know how many videos you put out about that story. That's one of the most fascinating Bigfoot stories. Everybody, after the show, when you subscribe to World Bigfoot Radio, most of you probably have. Duke, I tell you, it really is one of the best 12 series of videos about a man's relationship with a Bigfoot from beginning to end. And of course, rest in peace. I know he's a great friend of yours, Duke, Kevin Lang. That was one of the most fantastic pieces of work I've ever seen. And I think I've commended you before, but I'm going to do it again. That was awesome, dude.
Well, thanks. Yeah, it was not anything that anyone planned. Kevin had been on Sasquatch Chronicles and done his first encounter where he was out elk hunting and had a Bigfoot run up the hill chasing an elk past him and try and mash it with a boulder. And then saw Kevin was sitting there, so stopped its action, flicked the boulder away, roared at him, and left again. And so that was the first time he ever saw Bigfoot. Now, he told that one on Sasquatch Chronicles, but he didn't think Wes would believe him if he told them about Glag.
Right.
So he didn't bring it up. So then he contacted me via the internet and said, hey, I got to get something off my chest and tell you the stuff that happened to me. So he tells me this, and it was like, of course, people that have seen it know the ending is like, kind of not that great. And so it's still fairly traumatic for him at that point. And so he had a lot of trouble going through it. And man, I had several conversations with him for him to get this whole story off his chest. And then I started pestering him going, the Albert Ostman account where he was kidnapped by a family of Bigfoot for 5 days and he got all those close-up details. And
yeah.
Since then, everybody's been checking it out and all the details seem to come up as accurate and true. And that story probably really happened. As a matter of fact, he told Queen Elizabeth face-to-face that story. When she was in Canada, she requested him to tell her the story. So, yeah, he told a lot of people that story. And they all pretty much believe him. Well, now after years and years and years, all the details and everything come up as accurate. So it's even more believable. But I told Kevin, I said, look, he got kidnapped by a family of them for 5 days. You got to hang around with one as your best friend for 5 years. we've got to get this information out to the public so they can get an accurate picture on what
Mhm.
these guys are like and accurate information, and quit believing tabloid journalism Bigfoot stories. Bigfoot ate my dad's Winnebago. Tired of that kind of crap. Let's get the truth out there. So it took me another 2 months of badgering him to get him to actually, you know, consent to actually do an interview on the whole thing. And then it was multiple interviews because, 5 years. So it took a long time to go through all of it. So I was just blessed that I managed to talk him into it. And I had no idea, of course, that he was going to just die a few years later. I figured he'd be around a long time to talk about it. So that, yeah, very sad. I was really good friends with him. I used to talk to him at least once a day. So it hit me pretty hard when he died. Love Kevin, great guy. And everybody that investigated him and went out in the field with him, 100% convinced that what he was talking about was legit. And then, of course, we had him up here with me on my field research outing in 2019 with the Paranormal Portal team, and also had Randy K. Manyazi up here in my own team with me. And we reunited him with Glag. So there was the happy ending on that story. But yeah, kind of the born free of Bigfooting. But he had so many details, and he did live streams on his own channel for a year. Every week he would do a live stream, and anybody could show up in the chat room and ask any question they wanted about the Glag saga or Glag or Bigfoot, which he only knew one. But he had one really good example that he got to see up close, so he could draw from that information. Like, what color are the inside of their nostrils? He had the answer.
Wow.
And the thing about it, for those that have not seen or heard the story, and this starts when Glag was just either what was it, a juvenile or a younger Sasquatch, and watched him mature into adulthood, correct?
Yeah, we judged that he was probably about 5 or 6 years old when he got orphaned, and Kevin ran into him originally, because he was just a little bit bigger than Kevin was. He was a little bit over 6 feet at that point. And 5 years later, when they parted company, he was like 9.5 feet.
Wow. Wow.
And then the last time they met up here in Montana, he was 14.5 feet with a 26.5-inch foot.
Can you imagine?
Oh my God. Yeah, they get that big up here. That kind of freaked me out too. And then I found out that some of the ones up here get even bigger than that. And it's like, oh my God. Hey, Christy. Christy just popped in the chat room. She's going to be featured in the clip later on here.
Oh, yeah. Good old Christy Stop. I love it, Christy. Thanks for coming on in.
So, yeah, I'm having a great day today. Besides all the stress, one of my favorite songs ever is a Hendrix instrumental song. And I had a copy of it, but I couldn't get my hands on it because it was way on the other side of the country in a storage unit. So I went, I can always go on YouTube and check it out. Somebody's got to have that uploaded, right? No, I couldn't believe it. As much as everything by Hendrix in the universe is uploaded, that song isn't uploaded. And it's the friggin' best song he ever did. So I'm like, what the hell? So every, like 6 months or a year, I'm checking it out. Is it on there? Is it on there? Is it on there? No. And finally, like 2 days ago, I checked and somebody finally uploaded it. Yes. So yeah, for the last few days, it's like as soon as I get up in the morning, I pull up that video, I listen to it, and I'm like, yeah, this is totally rocking, ready to go.
We're approaching, it's August 10th today, and I know that for perhaps the last couple months you've been out in the field. And is there anything that you can talk about that you've come across, or is that proprietary information, or what new
No,
has
I'm
been
putting out the
happening?
reports. I'm just putting out field reports once a month this summer. So it's like everything that happened in the previous month is all in one field report. So you can go look at the one for May and you can look at the one for June. They're out already. This week on Sunday, the one for July will be out. And it was mostly me and my new research buddy, Johnny Charlo, who had never been Bigfooting before until he started running around with me. And although he believed they were real, his grandma saw one. And he saw other cryptids. He hadn't seen a Bigfoot, but he saw other cryptids. So he knew this stuff was real. So he wanted to go and check it out and go Bigfooting. So I started taking him out in the field. And I'm very, very happy to report that we're 7 for 7. He's been out 7 times with me, and all 7 times we found Bigfoot tracks and other evidence. So,
Wow. Very cool.
yeah, it helps to have like these long established hotspots that you can take people to where, you know, you may not see or hear one, but you're definitely going to be able to find tracks there somewhere. You know where to look, you'll find them. And then earlier this summer, I had Kelly Shaw from a Rocky Mountain Sasquatch organization was up here in Montana, which rarely does. Long drive for him from way down there in Utah where he's at. So he gets up here every couple of years. And this time he contacted me and went, "Hey, Duke, can you take me to one of your spots?" And I'm like, "Sure, let's go." So we took off and we had an afternoon. Me and him and Jenny went up to one of my spots. Actually, it's the main one that I've been going to all summer long. And we found some 19-inch tracks, 2 track lines of them. And they were going up and down this embankment where, you know, with that much weight, you're leaving craters in the embankment. So ridiculously obvious tracks. And Jenny, I think, spotted those. And then we found several other smaller tracks in various places while we were there. And when we were walking over to the far end of the mountain, on the very top of the mountain, Jenny and Kelly were a short distance behind me, and they heard a couple whoops. So Kelly had his camera going. He was like filming over there going, "We just heard whoops from over there." Well, then later on when he put the video up, his viewers noticed that, "Hey, Kelly, there's a couple things moving in the background on that piece of video where you said you just heard whoops over there and you were filming." So he went back and looked at it, and it looks like there's 2 Bigfoot standing there looking at him. One of them actually moves.
Wow.
So the last time I was up there, and that'll be out on this video this Sunday, I shot comparison video for Kelly so he can compare it to the video that he shot from the same exact location, because I've got a lot of practice finding that same exact location within 2 square feet over and over and over again to do comparison shots for my own videos. So, and I had a pretty good idea. There's this huge obvious stump right there, and it's like, okay, I know exactly where that is. That should be easy to find. So hopefully I got him the right angle, the right spot from where he can use it to compare to his original video. And I'm just going to say in advance, on his original video, they pointed out 2, but I think to the left of the frame, there's at least 1 more. Because when I filmed the comparison video, this tree-looking object that was there in his video ain't there.
Wow. Wow.
So that should be fun. Yep.
You know, where you go and do your research, Duke, you know, you and I speak probably once a week or so, or sometimes less. It just depends on how busy we are. And I got to ask you, with the years that you've put into this, do you think that, and you mentioned to me, you're trying to get me up to Montana, and yes, that is definitely something I want to do. And you're like, you've seen nothing until you've come up here. Do you think that a lot of the evidence you come across and so on and so forth is because that where you go, the Sasquatch are used to you? Do you think they're from the same unit, or is it just random?
Well, yeah, success has to do with knowing where the hell they are and actually going there.
Yeah.
But if they don't like you, you're still never going to see them. You might find tracks, you might find tree structures, but you're never going to see them. And habituation by your presence is really, you know, in my opinion, the way to go, because they your intentions and stuff, and they're scoping you out the whole time you're up there. And if they decide they like you, then, you know, they'll be scoping you out more every time you're up there. They'll follow you around and see what you're up to. And if you find their structures and tell them how great they are, they hear it. They're like, "Yeah, right on. We make awesome structures, don't we?" Yeah. And then, you know, they follow you around. Last time I was up there, I had Robin McRae on the phone because we were in a spot where I could actually get a signal. And right in the middle of finding tracks, I think she said that, like, while I was talking to her on the phone, we found 5 different tracks from 5 different individuals. So, and it wasn't a very long phone conversation. And she's doing the Overwatch thing, and she's going, "I don't know which direction you're facing right now, but at your left-hand side." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's right over the edge of the hill. Yeah, there's one over there keeping an eye on you guys." And I'm like, "Okay." So I get up from filming the track and I walk over to the edge of the hill, and it's super steep hillside. Just ridiculous. You don't even try to walk up and down it, you know, break your ankle and go flying and head over your heels down the thing. So I just lean over the edge and I go, "Hey guys, how you doing?" And I turn around and went back to filming tracks again.
Are you one that gifts them?
I I've got to see them a bunch of times. Usually they're pretty careful about not letting you see them when you got a camera going. But on the other hand, if they're following you around and you do weird things like I do, like just randomly turning around and filming for no real reason, and then you go back and look at the video afterwards and see there's 3 back there watching me.
Wow.
That's how you get them. And if you do get them on camera, you don't just like focus on them, because they'll key in on that immediately. Oh, that weird eye thing's looking at me.
Yeah.
And then they'll either blur themselves out or they'll zap your camera and wreck your video.
Oh, wow.
And you don't want to focus directly on them. If you see one, you want to have the camera off to the side of it, one way or the other. And Robin McCrae and Joyce Grail both vouch for this technique, as it works. They don't, first of all, they don't think that you're looking at them because the camera isn't pointed directly at them. They don't know you're in the field of view of the camera.
Right.
So they're not going to directly interact with it. And the other thing is, even if they're trying to cloak or blur themselves a little bit, if you get the cameras focused directly off them, the camera will still pick them up.
Wow. Wow.
You know, we're always asked the question, why is there a blurry video or blurry picture, AKA the blob squatch? Duke, is that, from your experience and your knowledge, is that primarily because they just the vast amount of energy that they can give off that just will run your battery down or cause these blurred images? Is it simply because of that?
There's a great comedian named Mitch who had a comment about that, thought he was making a joke and was 100% accurate. You guys got to lay off the people out there trying to film Bigfoot and quit yelling at them that they have blurry pictures. It's not their fault. Bigfoot is blurry, and that's very disturbing. There's a giant unknown creature running around the woods that we know nothing about that's blurry. Yeah, if they, I think part of it is the energy field that they put off around them can actually distort it. And there's other Bigfoot researchers that have figured out this too, where they'd be looking at a piece of video and everything is in focus except this one spot over here. It's all blurry. Why? Why is everything else in focus and that one spot is blurry?
Yeah.
I start looking for that on videos now. I cue in on it. Why is that spot over there blurry? And then you go back and look at it and you bring the video backward and forward and look at that blurry spot and see what's happening over there. And sometimes you'll see there's an object there and it's shifting position. It's actually cloaked. That's why it's blurry.
Right.
Interesting. Wow. You know, you mentioned, about the camera, how they can zap your camera. I was at the Land Between the Lakes, and I didn't have a camera, but what I did have was a EVP, a voice recorder. And we were in an area that's known hotspot there for, dogmen and Bigfoot. And 2 of us were both running an EVP session. And the next day when we went to listen to them, both of them are gone. So that really makes me wonder, not only the video cameras, as well as the little audio recorders too. Because I believe that had to have happened, because I get if just mine or just hers didn't, but both of us, neither one of us.
Now, Robin McCrae will tell you that out of all the cryptids out there, the Bigfoot have the best control over electromagnetic equipment. They can do all kinds of weird crap to it. So if they want you to not have any video, you're not going to have any video. I had Papa Craig up here with me, 3-day outing. He won actually a prize on Mogollon Monsters channel. And so he came up and had a 3-day camp out with us with my research team. And they didn't like him. The first morning he was there, they zapped him and knocked him to his knees. And then the rest of the time he was there, he soldiered on, like even after getting zapped. And he said he didn't really come out of it until 3 days after he got back again. He was messed up for about a week. But the whole time he was following me around. He's finding tracks. He's over there filming tracks and monologuing. And there's this big structure and he's filming it and he's filming this and filming that. And
wow.
It all turned to garbage. There was files that were missing. There were ones that were black. There were ones that had the white lines across them. He took, like over 100 pictures and over an hour of video, and he ended up with a 1-minute video clip and 4 pictures.
Wow.
And there's been people that have actually gotten home with this stuff and looked at it and went, holy bleep, look at that right there. And all of a sudden the whole file just goes bleep, gone.
On. Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
It's so fascinating because I've taken stories and heard reports and spoke with many other people where it's not coincidence, where a lot of people that we talk to, and Duke, I'm sure you've had this happen or heard of it, where it's just not coincidence, where somebody, your electronics, your battery, it just goes dead. I mean, and
Mhm.
you could have it on full charge, and it's because they're in the area. I remember talking to a fellow that seen a Bigfoot materialized from a stump. Now it was cloaking, but he had it in camera and he switched to video and he did see an image. In fact, during this whole process, he's seen a Bigfoot allegedly grab a deer, and the deer was kind of picked it up and was
Mhm.
suspended a foot off the ground. So this man is all excited. He decides to go back. He goes back. He finds a place to sit down. He goes over his pictures in his camera. Well, of course, lo and behold, when he gets to the pictures and switches over to video, in the pictures cannot see anything. He did capture a picture of the deer suspended in air, like it was just floating with nothing around it. And of course, the video, when he switched to video, it was all grainy, it went white, and the battery went dead. We've heard
Mhm.
this so many different times.
Yeah, I keep hearing this over and over and over and over and over from all the different researchers and just from
Right.
casual people that don't understand it. And Mogollon Monster had their little camp out down there with all of his buddies, and Steve, I think it was Stevie B and Jay, got lost, didn't find the campsite, and then their vehicle broke down. And then they had a bunch of Bigfoot show up and harass them. And long story short, they got back out of there again, and they had video and pictures. And they got back to the actual camp they were supposed to be at, told everybody their harrowing tale, started showing them the video and pictures. And while they were showing them, they started disappearing.
Wow.
They had people literally looking at them while these things were disappearing.
That's just amazing.
Robin will tell you that story too, where one of her friends got a spectacular picture. I can't remember if it was her or who it was. And they're just like, oh my God. And they immediately sent it to 3 friends. And as soon as they did, it disappeared off their device.
Wow.
And then they called one of their friends and went, quick, share those pictures around as fast as you can to everybody. They played like phone tag all day long, sharing this picture to everybody that they could think of. And as soon as they would get it shared, poof, it would disappear again.
Wow. Wow. Quick question. What do you you hear so many different things of what people believe they are. Do you believe, you hear Nephilim, you hear supernatural, you hear flesh and blood? What are your thoughts on that?
All the above except Nephilim. They're not Nephilim, and if you tell them that they're Nephilim, they get very offended.
Mm-hmm.
You could be asking to get shit stomped if you tell them that they're Nephilim. They don't like that.
Right.
No, they fought the Nephilim. Go back and look at the Ramayana, where it talks about Lord Rama having his wife abducted by Ravana, a demon lord, as they called him, and he was the ruler of an island named after him, Sri Lanka, because he also had the name Lanka. He had a whole army of giants. And Rama, as powerful as he was, didn't have a navy, so he couldn't figure out how he was going to go get his girlfriend or wife back there from the island with her being surrounded by giants on this island. So his allies volunteered to make him a bridge from the mainland over to the island, which, by the way, you can see from satellite today. It's partially submerged under the water. Well, it's pretty much submerged, but it's called Adam's Bridge. And according to the description in the Ramayana, was supposed to be 1/2 mile wide, 10 miles long. So they built him this bridge so he could go out there and invade. And then they volunteered to be part of the invasion force because they wanted to slap the crap out of the giants too, for some reason. Well, these guys that volunteered to build this bridge for him are called the Vanara, which in Sanskrit means forest people. The description of the Vanara is they look kind of like monkeys, and they didn't wear clothes. They had hair all over them. Some of them were the size of elephants. They were ridiculously strong. Sound familiar? So yeah, they volunteered to build him a 10-mile long bridge and then volunteered to invade so they could kill the giants. Does that sound like they're Nephilim?
Yeah, right.
Nephilim have double rows of teeth and 6 digits. So until you start seeing Bigfoot tracks with 6 digits, they're not Nephilim. Duh.
You know, Penny Van, she just asked why has it become so trendy in the past year to call everything Nephilim? You know, and I do know a lot of people who do believe that they are, you know.
Yeah. Well, I don't know who the hell believes they are. They need to go read their Bible, and even Rob Kreider and other people will tell you that. If you think they're Nephilim, you haven't read your Bible very well, because pull out the line and verse where it mentions that. That came actually from the Mormon Church. We tracked it back. Where did this Bigfoot or Nephilim BS come from? Came from the Mormon Church, so that isn't even part of Christian doctrine. That's part of Joseph Smith's doctrine. And it wasn't even him that came up with it. It was one of the elders in the church who, well, guess where they live? Salt Lake City, Utah.
Salt Lake
Think
City,
there's
the
any
Mormons.
Bigfoot out there? Yeah, well,
Yeah.
of course, when they settled out there, one of the elders saw Bigfoot and went, oh my God, it's Nephilim. And that's where all this BS started. So just knock it off, do some research,
Yeah.
be able to back up what you're trying to spew out there, and don't just regurgitate BS from lesser minds that can't do proper research.
And that's really what it comes down to people that aren't familiar, and they just throw that term out there. And yeah, and again, you know, you just made mention that oh my God, there's Bigfoot out in Salt Lake City or Utah or wherever. I gotta tell you something. I believe that Bigfoot is in all the states. However, I gotta tell you, about 20 years ago, I was driving through Nebraska.
Yeah.
And I see nothing but cornfields and boredom and flatlands. Yes, some woods.
Hey,
And
don't
there's
over
this,
glamorize it, Rob.
you know, yeah. I was giving it too many props there, Duke. I mean, gosh darn, I would never. That's the last place I'd want to live. I'd rather live in North Dakota. But anyway,
You haven't been to Kansas yet either, have you?
or Iowa. I don't know. So I
Kansas
remember
is
you.
better.
So I know Nebraska's got the Bigfoot Museum, and I know that you and Christy were down there. And I'm thinking, well, you know what? That's a state where, you know, I'd question perhaps a Bigfoot. But I got to tell you, talk with you, talk with Christy, saw some pictures. You guys came into some Sasquatch in this Cornhusker state, man.
Yeah, they're everywhere. Well, I've had Rich Soul from the Knox Gigas Project on my channel many times now, and he's one of the best Bigfoot researchers there is, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Does a great job in the field, super awesome, you know, archive researcher. Him and Dmitry Bayanov are the ones that were trying to get fakey butt Wikipedia to list hominology as an actual thing, but they're too full of trash to, you know. They're controlled. Let's just put it that way. Wikipedia believe nothing they print. So anyway, yeah, you know, I've had the guy on a bunch of times. He's proved his credentials over and over and over again. He's been out with Barry and the guys out there from Res Squatching. They're a good couple hours away from where he's at. And we couldn't go to both places. So I just went, okay, Rich, even though you can't make the conference, we're going to come over and visit you. And it's like a 2-hour drive from the conference over to where he was. So he got part of Thursday off. And since we were all there the Thursday before the conference started on Friday, we went, okay, we're going to do this 2-hour trip over there and then 2-hour trip back again. Spend some time boots on the ground with Rich. And well, by the time we were on our way there, he's like, change of plan. I can't spend the whole day with you. I got to leave like mid-afternoon. I'm like, oh God. Well, this was already mission impossible. We got to go try and find Bigfoot in Nebraska, where there probably aren't, you know, very many Bigfoot to find. Pancake flat full of cornfields.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm going to trust the logistics and the boots on the ground, butt in the field, wherewithal knowledge of Rich Soul, because well, he's been doing Bigfoot research in Nebraska for a long time, so he probably knows where they are. So he says, yeah, well, we got enough time where I can take you to a couple little places near where I live here. And there's usually like signs of them around there. We might find something there. Okay. So by the time we get over there, we've got 3 hours total before he has to go back to work. And we're just going to leave and go back to where the conference is. So where did we end up at? Well, Lincoln, Nebraska. Of course, if you want to find Bigfoot, you got to go to the capital city of Nebraska, because that's where we're actually in the suburbs outside of Lincoln, Nebraska. There's a couple little nature areas there, and the only reason they exist is because they're floodplains. There's little creeks there, so you can't build on them. So, of course, guess who takes advantage of that? So yeah, I mean, like we're literally in the suburbs walking around and flying the drone around. We're finding massive structures. We're finding Bigfoot tracks. Found a deer kill. Blaine found Bigfoot scat. We spotted two of them from across the creek from us and got them on video. And then Blaine had a wood knock when he was walking around further up the creek. Thought we were pranking him. Like we can't get to the other side of the creek, and we're 100 yards behind you. What the hell are you thinking? Anyway, he did a video of that on his channel. Bigfoot wood knock epic fail. If you guys want to go watch it, otherwise it'll be included in the documentary. So that was the whole thing, and we went to two places, actually three. We stopped at an interpretive center for what the area used to look like. It had some actual buffalo there, and it talked about how the whole area used to be buffalo grass, 10 feet tall, or 8 feet tall, and just with the big buffalo wandering around in it. And Rich did a great presentation on it. It was so windy there that the microphone didn't pick up anything except so that ain't gonna work. So he just went back recently and stood out in one of those gigantic fields that they have. That's all Nebraska has, and did the presentation again on here's what it was like before the white men came here, and here's what the Bigfoot were doing, and here's what they were hunting, and made mention of the fact that there's massive underground systems all underneath Nebraska karst systems. It's all sandstone, and also Nebraska has more waterways than almost any state in the union. They got a ton of rivers, and they're all huge. And along those rivers are riparian forest, and in those forest areas are where the Bigfoot are living. They're not up in the farm fields where the farmers are. These are also their travel routes in most other states too. They travel along the rivers and stuff. So of course they would naturally be there anyway just to travel through. But some of these areas connect to big enough chunks of forest and stuff that they're living in there. And then, of course, they spend a lot of time underground because they can travel around that way, too. So, yeah, the first time we were there at the Bigfoot Museum for the conference, not last spring, but the spring before, we were pretty surprised that there actually was activity around there. And actually, we got fingerprints off Christie's rental car right before she had to take it back.
Yeah,
and
I've
left.
seen that.
Those are in the museum over there. So if anybody stops by the museum, you can see them. And they're not nearly as giant as the ones that I just showed that Keith Crabtree got off his truck down there in Falk, Arkansas. If you guys missed that episode, those fingerprints look like sausages, like somebody had taken salamis. Huge. So anyway, there was a bunch of activity around there, and we just kind of marked it down to, well, it's because Robin McCrae's here, Pat McCrae's here, Christie's here. The owner of the museum, they love her, Harriet. And then I was there. So we just figured, well, there's too many Bigfoot magnets in one place. That's where we're getting activity. But it was the same thing this year with less Bigfoot magnets, but still plenty of activity. Well, I don't know if there's that much less. Well, a little bit less Bigfoot. Yeah, Blaine was there this year too. So that probably helped. And he got eye glare on him. One of them tapped on the window and woke him up in the middle of the night. He's laying on the floor, actually in the museum, and there's this huge window there. Tap, tap, tap. He rolls over and looks up, and there's a Bigfoot face, and it's got the red eye glow looking at him. He's like, "What?" He only does daytime squatching. He doesn't go out walking around at night or anything, And that's something that Richard Soul, the local guy there in Nebraska, specializes in. They got video eye glow and stuff like that.
Wow.
It's 39-minute mark. We talked a little about what's going on, and I made mention Duke has got exclusively here on this channel, Brunch with Bigfoot Mission Raw. We got some inside. I got the inside scoop, and I want to put this up. We're going to do this at the end of this hour and the second half of the show. If Krista would queue up, and Duke, while she gets there ready, why don't you give a little background into what we're about to see here?
Yeah, I'll set it up. Well, this is a little piece from the upcoming documentary, Inevitably Finding Bigfoot, which will be out next month on my channel. And why the name for that one? Well, because it was a dare. Because I smack talk Finding Bigfoot. And somebody said, okay, well, let's see you do any better, big guy. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll take that challenge. So I have to assemble a team of other researchers, go to some state that none of us live in, and try and find Bigfoot. That's pretty much what they do on that show, right? Okay, we'll skip the town hall meeting, and I'll just contact the top Bigfoot researcher in the state and get opinion from him where we should go. We'll bring him with too. Okay, does that sound pretty fair, pretty even? And we'll do it in a state, Nebraska, well known for its squatchiness, right? It's like trying to find Bigfoot in the friggin' Sahara Desert. So we're definitely stacking the deck against ourselves here, just to make the point. And we don't have a couple days of filming time, and we don't have a film crew, and we don't have a director, and we don't have a script, and we haven't got any equipment, and we don't have any budget, and we got 3 hours to be boots on the ground. Can we pull it off? Okay, big smack talker.
Yeah.
Did you pull it off? And the answer is yes, we did.
Yeah.
And that's why inevitably finding Bigfoot. I took the challenge. We did it. There. We don't have to make a whole series. It only took us one show. And they did like what, 10 years? They still haven't found one.
Wow.
But
That's
that,
awesome.
not to cast too much shade on them, because
Yeah.
some of them
Yeah,
deserve
yeah,
it. They only had one actual researcher on their team, and that was Bobo.
Okay.
And the rest of them were just, tag-alongs. So, and I give Bobo credit. He's a great guy, really nice, really smart researcher. That guy can remember every detail in every damn Bigfoot story he's ever heard, exactly where it happened, what database it's on, blah, blah, blah.
Wow.
Way beyond what I can do. I never remember that kind of stuff. So anyway, to set up the clip a little bit more, since this is going to be a work of satire,
Yeah.
we decided that what we kind of do is make us the world's greatest spaghetti western Bigfoot documentary. So all the way through this Bigfoot documentary, it's got this weird spaghetti western theme. There's a lot of spaghetti western scenery in it, and even some of us wearing kind of spaghetti western looking clothes. But we're filming an actual straight up in the field Bigfoot investigation and having fun with each other. We even had so much time to spare out of the 3 hours that we got to like photobomb each other and stuff.
Awesome.
Wow. Let me know
I
when
cut
you're
some
ready.
other research team that had a game cam stationed out there, and I made their game cam famous. I put it on video.
Well, Christy, why don't we, Krista? I see Christy, and then we have Krista.
So
Why
this
don't
is
you,
just a little bit further set up here. This is Christie's clip. In the video, it's kind of like the Magnificent Seven. They're all coming from different places. What's the backstory on all these amazing characters? You got to get the backstory before they all assemble and go on the mission. And so this is part of the backstory part. We already got me and Ashton's out. That's the Inevitably Finding Bigfoot Part 1, Fistful of Mountain Men, which is up on my channel already. This clip is
Yes,
exclusively
yes,
from
yes.
the main show itself, which is going to be titled The Magnificent 4.5. And in this clip, it's the backstory of the 0.5. And the reason for that name is because the group photo, everybody's the same height except Christy is kind of short. So instead of the Magnificent 7, we're the Magnificent 4.5. So this is the backstory and montage part to set up Christy as one of the team members and kind of give to anybody that doesn't know who she is a little bit of background and show some of the stuff that she's found and what she's done, and some really cool Bigfoot pictures that she took.
Yes.
So here we go.
All right. Can you see that part?
I don't see
Can't
anything
see
yet.
anything.
Okay. Hold on.
Hey, Johnny.
Do I have to add it, Krista? Was that set, or you have to rewind it, or are we all good?
Is it on?
Yeah, I have
Nope.
to just add it. I have to add it to the stream.
I'm not seeing it. There we go. Does it got sound? That is one massive foot. There we go.
All right, we just crossed it.
Yeah, made it.
Yes, we made it. We're going deeper into the bush. Beautiful little place. So show them how this is stuck in the ground.
I'm not touching it. We can't touch it.
He starts wiggling that stick, and the
Just to
Bigfoot get
show.
angry about it.
You heard that?
Yeah, I heard that.
That might have been a tree falling, but we just heard
Under
a,
the tree falling, honey.
we just heard a loud. You heard that?
Yeah, I heard that.
Coming up on the right-hand side of the screen.
Oh,
There you go. We'll show it again.
Ooh.
That's Keith Crabtree, the Buck Creek Monster himself.
Yeah.
Good shot. You can see the left side of his face, eye, nose, mouth,
Yeah.
cheek, head. That's an 8-foot tall fence that booger's peeking over there, by the way.
Okay.
And that's one of the tracks we found in Nebraska.
Aw. Duke all cleaned up on that picture. Christy always looks good.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, dude. Very nice, Christy. I know you're out there.
We also got actual drone video, and we have a special guest narrator that's going to be doing the narration voiceover, Bill Madden from the Night Terrors channel, who has like the voice of God. So he'll be the perfect guy to do the narration for it.
You know, it's pretty cool too because anyone hasn't seen it. Go over to Duke's channel because I really and I myself I'm a big spaghetti western fan too. And you opened up it's on the video and you know the good, the bad, and the ugly theme. Sergio Leone came on, and you know what? I was just like Kelly Shaw. I know you told me so about Kelly, kept listening to it over. I listened to that over and over again. In fact, that was the theme on my phone a long time ago. That actual when my phone rang, it was Sergio Leone The good, the bad, and the ugly. You guys got to check out World Bigfoot Radio. He's got some cool short videos out there. We're coming up on the 5-minute break. And thanks to Duke. Thanks for Christy for providing that as well with Duke. Pretty cool stuff there. And we're going to get back. We got to take the 5-minute break. We will be back. So don't go nowhere. I just got to find my little break button. Thanks to Duke Sullivan, World Bigfoot Radio. If you have not subscribed, please do so. We'll be back in 5.
Four minutes to go, folks. 4 minutes. Three minutes. We're almost there. Two-minute warning, guys. 2-minute warning. One minute. 1 minute.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Welcome back to Brunch with Bigfoot, Michigan Rob, with World Bigfoot Radio, Duke Sullivan, and, of course, my lovely co-host, Krista. Don't forget, everybody, on Mondays, it is Texas Front Porch. They come on at 9 o'clock in the East. Tuesdays, Van Buren Variety, 8 o'clock in the East. Beyond BMR, that's me. I'm on at 9 in the East on Tuesday. Jason McLean does something called Mysterious Library and Untold Radio AM. Check out Jason Tuesday nights at 10. Wednesdays on Texas Front Porch, the Diva Dimension. I'm not sure on the time. I think it's 8 Central now, but it's on Wednesdays. Turn on the alert bell on Texas Front Porch for that. Thursdays, Brunch with Bigfoot, Michigan Rob, 1 o'clock in the East. Tonight, the Blondes, the Booze, the Paranormal Podcast. Please subscribe if not already. They're on at 9 o'clock in the evening, Eastern Standard Time. If you need a little woo with the booze, they mix in the Blondes, the Booze, and the Woo. That's Fridays, 9 in the East. Saturdays, Texas Front Porch. He's doing a little true crime with Miss Diva. It's called Infamous Minds. You can catch that Saturdays at 3 o'clock in the East. And, of course, on Saturday, my lovely friend Jessica Jones, Spaced Out Radio, Saturday and Sunday, 10 o'clock in the East. She is the Cryptid Huntress. You can find her on her YouTube channel as well. She does 2 shows during the week as well. And, of course, the link is pinned at the top. My book, yes, my book, it's out. Bigfoot, Michigan Rob presents True Cryptid Encounters, Book 1. Pretty cool artwork by Jason McLean. That's a dog man and a Sasquatch in the back. For those that have purchased it already, thank you ever so much. I do appreciate that greatly. I'm very proud of that. All 45 true encounter stories with Bigfoot, with Dogman, and a couple other entities. So go check that out. In fact, Duke broke my book last Sunday. Go check that out. That was a pretty cool show. Me and Duke, we just chilled. We talked a little Bigfoot, talked a little cryptids, talked a little bit about the book. That was a fantastic show. Duke chat, check it out. Also, don't forget the super chat's open. Great way to help support what we do, what I do around here. I do appreciate that. And of course, purchasing the book for those that have done it already. Thank you ever so much. This is a fantastic show we've got going on. I am going to bring up Krista and Duke.
Hey.
Hello. Welcome back to the show. Thanks, Duke, for that. I like that. I like that 5-minute preamble to us up and coming. Mm-hmm. Very, very cool. I enjoyed it. And before we get into it, I got a little story to tell you about Christy Sci-Fi. Now, I've known Christy since for about 5 years. And I first met her 2 years ago in Alabama. And so we're outside. And, I was trying to quit smoking at the time. So every time I seen Christy leave, I knew I bummed a cigarette off of her. Yeah, me, I didn't go to the gas station. I said, hell with it. I'm trying to quit. But then, plus I kind of like Christy anyway. So we're just talking, we're outside, chumming it up. She goes, hey, Rob. And now for people, she is definitely a Sasquatch magnet. I got to tell you something. And I couldn't believe when she was going to tell me this. She starts taking photographs. Now, I don't want to say Alabama has mountains. Excuse me, people in Alabama. The elevation is 2,200 feet. I mean, that's a small hill in Montana, right?
Yeah.
So
I'm at higher elevation than that, and I'm sitting in a mountain valley.
You're way up there, Dookie. So we got some foothills. You got the big hills, and for you people from Alabama, the mountains. I'll give you that. In the background, the foothills and the forest. So Christy's firing pictures. She goes, Rob, I bet you I can capture a Sasquatch. I'm like, yeah, no, you can't. Okay. I'm just flat out no. So she's firing some pictures, moving her little camera around. And so, she takes 15, 20 photographs. Okay, let's check this out. The first 4 or 5 pictures, there's nothing. She's zooming in, zooming out. She goes, wait. I know where to find one. And I swear to everybody listening, came across several pictures where we did. I tell you what, we saw some, as she would say, ancient people in the background. And I could not believe it. And I looked, give me your phone, I says to her. And I'm looking at it. I'm scrutinizing this. I said, my gosh, you caught something. So yes, when people say Christy is a Squatch magnet, Christy is a Squatch magnet. So thanks for that, Christy. I had a lot of fun with you in Alabama. If you're still in the chat, thanks for that. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think you can judge a mountain by its verticality. It doesn't matter where its base is. If it did, then Mount Everest wouldn't be the tallest mountain on Earth because its base is sitting at 18,000 feet. It hasn't got that much vertical on it. We just judged from the base, to the top of the mountain, how much vertical is that? And actually, Mount Denali here in North America kicks Everest butt. It's like 3 times the size of Everest. It's just sitting at sea level, so it doesn't go as high into the sky. So rule of thumb in Montana is unless you got a mile of vertical, it's not really a mountain. It's just a big hill.
Well, I got, you had an interesting story going back to you, Duke, and all that you do for the community and for Bigfoot research, which again I respect immensely, as I think you well know.
Thanks, bud.
You tell us the story. A lot of people, Brent from the Paranormal Portal. Did something go on with him, Duke, where you guys were out doing scouting the area and something came about? He missed something and he couldn't believe it.
Oh, that was the I can't remember which time. He was actually up there at the ghost town with us a couple times.
Okay.
And the one time that he was up there, if I remember right, it was the same time that Kevin was up there.
Yes,
And
it
me
was.
and Kevin and K-Man and the whole rest of the team had taken off to go to another mountain range 80 miles away where we saw more Bigfoot. But we actually had a lot more activity there than we did in Coloma while we were there. But when we left, the Sasquatch that were hanging around there didn't leave. And so when Brent and I think it was Dan Pruitt that he had with him, don't quote me on that, there was just the two of them. They came back the following day. They were staying at a hotel. We camped there. So they came back right about the same time we were leaving and went up right into the middle of downtown, collapsed buildings, Coloma, and dropped the tailgate on the truck, put their spirit box thingy that they had there that had the loaded sound bank on it that could conceivably make things into words, but they weren't really constructed as words. So you're listening to all these weird sounds coming out of this thing, and it's like 2:00 in the afternoon, bright day. And apparently somebody was watching him because Brent was just standing there while this is going on, and you can hear it in his recording of this thing making all this noise in the background, and he just starts panning around with his camera. Well, as the camera is going across this ridge line, there's some big black shadow up there that ducks down. And when I saw Brent's video, I noticed it, and I went, dude, you caught something up there. We had already left. There was nobody else in that ghost town except for you two guys. Somebody or something was up on that ridge line watching you guys. Well, of course, he doesn't live anywhere near here. So I went up there not once, but twice with one of my friends trying to figure out exactly where he was standing and exactly where the big black shape on the ridge was standing. And we nailed it. And then the following year, I think it was when Brent and his team came back, they tried to figure it out too, but we already had it. And I had my friend Chris with me for the comparison. He's about 6 feet tall, pretty much average build. And we had him standing the same place, and I was right where Brent was at, and I was filming across it. And he was about 2 to 3 feet shorter than the object that Brent caught on video and about 1/3 the width. So either it was a big grizzly up there watching him or it was a Bigfoot. There's pretty much no other options. And grizzlies don't duck down when you get them on camera.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't think not. They don't even know they're. That's one of the things that do not know they're being filmed or photographed. I don't believe.
Yeah, they're kind of oblivious to it. They don't know exactly what you're up to. Bigfoot do.
I'm going to ask you a question. I know that again, World Bigfoot Radio. Check them out. Subscribe, Duke Sullivan. I want to switch gears just a little bit because I always have. You're so fascinating. You are a wealth of knowledge of a lot of things. And a thing that I'm always fascinated with, we talked earlier, everyone brings up the Nephilim thing about Bigfoot. And again, they're not the Nephilim. We can squash that theory. But however, though, I know that you have a lot of interest and a lot of knowledge about giants. Now, giants that exist today, Duke, are they Nephilim on Earth today, or is that just something else?
No, they are Nephilim on Earth. There's still what we would consider the Nephilim. Technically, they perished during the flood, and everything after that is a diluted bloodline, or what they call the Rephaim, those that have risen again. Where were they at during the flood? Probably underground. Waited for the floodwaters to recede, came up again. I don't think Oga Bashan was clinging to the side of the ark for 40 days and 40 nights while a torrential downpour was going on. I'm not buying into that theory of how they survived until later. But anyway, yeah, you've got the giant of Kandahar. You've got the giants that the Paiutes recorded having had war with them. Princess Winnemucca talked about that. And actually, there's a lot of that story is usually left out. There were several thousand of them. And the tribe went to war with them for like 2.5, 3 years before they finally got it down to where there's only a very few of them. They were on the run. For a long time, there used to be a lake there right next to Lovelock Cave. And it's all dried up now. It's all desert. But at that time, the cave itself sat right on the lake shore. And what the giants had done is made themselves like a big giant reed raft thing that they were floating around on the lake in order to avoid being on shore where the Paiutes would kill them immediately. And at some point, they went to the far side of the lake away from where the Paiute were, and this is where Lovelock Cave was. And that's how they ended up being in the cave. And one of their scouts spotted them when, hey, the stinking human-eating giants that wouldn't make a deal with us and quit eating us are hiding in this cave over here. So that's when they showed up and gave them the ultimatum, surrender and swear off eating humans and we'll let you live. And apparently the giants' answer was, no, humans are too yummy. We must keep eating you. So they put a whole pile of firewood in the mouth of the cave, set it on fire, and asphyxiated them. And then, of course, there was the greasy handprint on the cave wall that was found and photographed before the Park Service realized it was there and scrubbed it off. So, ha, 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 ha. We got that one.
I'm going to ask you a question because often what I know about the giants or Nephilim is the fallen 200, right? The angels were cast out of heaven. They came down. They mated with human women, which produced the Nephilim or giants. Is that what the giant is today, or is there a different? How shall I say? Are there different giants that are not related at all to the biblical stories that we hear?
Well, there's a lot of diluted bloodlines. If you go back and look in the Bible, there's like over 33 listings for different peoples and tribes that were all either, basically pure-blooded Nephilim or heavily diluted Nephilim blood. Mm-hmm. And that was a lot of the tribes when they came in and took possession of the Levant, and God was saying, hey, go in here and wipe these guys out. Well, why did God want them to wipe out everybody? That's kind of like why God being big meanie, telling them to wipe out everybody, men, women, children. It was because they carried the fallen angel's bloodline. He was trying to get that wiped off the earth. And it was like, okay, you guys go in, wipe out the giants, can't lose, I'm on your side. And then you get all this lovely land and everything that they've got there, which when they came in and they're reconning, they're bringing back like a clump of grapes that they have to put a stringer through it and have two guys carrying it to bring it back. Because the giants had all this yummy GMO stuff, apparently. It was all gigantic size food too. So they were like, wow, as soon as we take possession of this, we got it made. Well, then they kind of chickened out and God got mad at them and they had to wander around for another quite a few years till they got another chance at going in there. And of course, they immediately stomped the giants' butts and took over. It does not record exactly how they did this, which is the one piece of information I've always been interested in. What'd you do? Poison them? How'd you kill them exactly? I want to know that part, because it says in the Bible that the giants, to their eyes, they seemed like grasshoppers to the giants, and to the giants' eyes, they seemed like grasshoppers to them. So these guys weren't like 7 feet tall or something. We're talking actual giants here. And one of the ways that is supposedly knowable what they are is because of the genetic flaw they've got with get double rows of teeth and 6 digits. And there are plenty of examples of that here in North America too, where they found and dug up skeletons like that, which then later went on to be further studied by the Smithsonian Museum and disappeared. And, they would be able to cover up all that, except for the fact that we have all the newspaper articles with pictures of these things for years and years and years and years before they started to put the kibosh on it and saying, there's no such thing as giants. Well, that's all hooey. Now, on the one hand, as Robert Kreider wisely pointed out, what are Denisovans? Oh, they're relic hominids. They used to live, they're extinct now. They lived around the same time as the Neanderthals, some of them even inbred with them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what did Denisovans look like? Well, they look pretty much like us, except for they're bigger. Well, like how much bigger? Well, like 8 to 10 feet. Well, that sounds like a giant. No. There's no such thing as giants. But there's Denisovans that look like giant humans and are giant. So, see, they're playing with people. They don't want to admit what's actually going on here. They've been trying to pass off this BS that we weren't in North America until the end of the last ice age has been like seriously debunked now. They got remains of humans and tracks of humans in stone from at least 2 ice ages ago, just in the last couple of years. So they're, all this stuff they keep trying to prop up as science is actually ideological agenda driven BS. They just don't want to change the history books and admit they were wrong. Well, sorry, your turn. All these physicist guys and astronomers and stuff have to regularly go, okay, the data isn't matching up with what we're seeing now. Time for a new theory because clearly the last one wasn't right. Well, same thing with all you historical cover-up artists. Short answer to question, yes, there are biblical giants still around. We found a track up at the ghost town earlier this year, back in May, and Johnny, who's in the chat room right now, is with me, and we dropped a tape measure on it. It was 31 inches long, and it was too thin to be a Bigfoot track. So what does that leave?
Right.
It's either a troll or it's a giant, and maybe the two are one and the same. We don't know. Data we got on trolls, which apparently do exist, there's not very many, is that they have 4 toes. Well, the Nephilim have 6.
Mm-hmm.
And this outsized track had been rained on the night before, and it was in a gravel bed. So it rained enough to wash away the detail on the toes. So you couldn't tell how many toes it had. It looked like it had, 5 or 6. It didn't look like a 4-toe track. So, again, don't know. But there have been people that have found huge apparent Nephilim tracks. I got a picture of one of them. It was one of them stepped in mud, and it's like a 16 or 17 inch track, and it's clearly got 6 toes.
Wow.
Unbelievable. Well, I believe it, but yeah, so that's something else. So that kind of squashes the theory too, I would think, dude, because I was reading some things that people suggested are human Nephilim. Okay, not giants, but Nephilim in our government or in the world that are wherever they are.
Mm-hmm.
The way you mentioned, I guess, with that Rephaim, I think that's probably a fallacy because, as you mentioned, that bloodline has got to be so thinned out that
exactly, and that's why all the blue bloods go back and look at European history. Why did these royal families always want to intermarry with each other? Sometimes to the point where they were actually starting to have hemophilia and other genetic issues because they were so closely related, because they had Nephilim bloodlines, and they were trying to keep as much of that Nephilim bloodline as they could. It's the dragon bloodline. Trying to think of his name right off the top of my head. I've actually had him on my show a couple times. Biblical scholar, talks about it. Yeah, anybody in the chat room know who I'm talking about? Throw his name out. Blanking out right now. I need to have him on my show again now. Rob, you know who I'm talking about. I recommended his book to you right now. Gary Wayne, that's it. Yeah, Gary Wayne talks a lot about how all of this leads back to the Nephilim and the Nephilim bloodlines, and them trying to keep the Nephilim bloodlines going, and God doing his best to squish them like cockroaches and get rid of the Nephilim bloodline, which shouldn't have existed in the first place.
Wow.
Fascinating stuff, Yeah, Gary Wayne. I have the book. Duke recommended that book a couple years ago, and yeah, exactly. You can't speed read it, or you, as Gary Wayne says. What does he say, Duke?
Oh, it'll make your head explode. It's
Yes.
like that scene on Raiders of the or what is it? Raiders of the Lost Ark, where they open up and like the guy's face melts and stuff like that. That's what'll happen to your head. And Gary even says that too. You can't read his book all at one time. You have to read short passages because if you try and read it all at once, your head will just explode.
What's the book called again?
It's-
I'm gonna write it down.
Genesis 6 Conspiracy, Gary Wayne.
Yeah, it's a fantastic book, Krista. But you've got to read it slow. I mean, I've read it. It's something you got to study as you read it, because if you just browse through it, when I read that book, I have my phone in front of me just to look up the words. You know,
Wow.
I mean, it's
Wow.
crazy. It's a good read. Yeah, and but yeah. So it's been a fantastic show thus far, so far, Duke, with everything. Chris, you got anything you want to ask? 'Cause I know it's the first time you've met Duke. Anything, any pending questions you got? Because I don't want to hog up the whole show here. We got about 50.
No, you're good. I have a question though. You're out in the woods a lot, and you ever come across any other type of creatures besides Bigfoot?
That I've seen with my naked eye, no. That I've caught on video, yes.
Gotcha.
We've got one sequence of video where it looks like there's a little person who's standing way upriver from me next to this
Wow.
flower. But in the same sequence, like you don't really notice him because there's two Bigfoot sitting right over here that you can see fairly clearly. So you tend to not notice the little guy over on this side.
Sure.
And then there's 3 different clips that I've shot that have a bunch of Sasquatch sitting in the background that have actually a dog man in them. One of them on my channel is called Surrounded by Sasquatch, where I'm literally surrounded by Sasquatch. I'm in a clearing and I just spin my camera around and there's like a dozen of them plus a dog man that are sitting there watching me. That was the super creepiest ever. And I just recently was looking at the video of that, and as I'm walking down the trail, there's this game trail and it's like so beaten it looks like a cow path. It's like literally sunken into the ground. Unbelievable. And there's this huge moose must have just come down, and he's got a track bigger than my foot. So I'm following him, following his tracks, being stupid, not paying attention. There's this pine tree right next to me, and it's got the branches that go almost down to the ground. And as I spit around to get a better view of this huge moose track, my camera briefly scans the bottom of that pine tree as I'm spinning around. And I finish filming the moose track and I turn around and I walk away. Now I'm looking at this piece of video later going, what's that under the tree? Which is like literally 10 feet away from me, if that.
Right.
There's this big giant yellow eye with a black pupil looking at me. And then I look more closely and there's a good sized Sasquatch that's laying underneath there in the shadow, hiding himself. You can see his head and his shoulders and the whole thing. And they're like touching distance away from me. And I'm like, hey, look, moose track. I'm an idiot. Not paying any attention. And so that's why the value of like flailing around with your camera and filming shit randomly, as long as you're going slow enough, things don't blur.
Sure.
And for the person that said in the chat room that things blur because of motion, BS. You can have your camera stationary on one of these things and part of that frame will be blurry.
Right. Wow. Do you believe that Bigfoot and Dogman, that they get along, or do you feel like, because you
Well,
said
from what I filmed, they get along because every time I filmed a Dogman, they were with a group of Bigfoot.
Bigfoot, yeah.
I had Dogman caught on camera last fall when Keith Crabtree was up here with me, and I was just walking back to the truck and filming over the edge of the ditch as I was walking. And there was a ton of them sitting in there watching me. There was a Dogman about 6 feet away in a tree watching me walk past him. You can see on the video he's turning his head as I walk past him.
Oh wow, that's scary stuff, though. Are you frightened by any of them?
No, they haven't killed me yet.
Well, that's true.
They've never hurt me. They let me get away with antics that really I shouldn't be able to get away with. So I don't push it though. I mean, like through Robin, they talk to me and go, hey, don't do this, don't go here, blah blah, whatever. Like they don't want us going across the river, so we just basically don't go across the river.
Wow.
They didn't say we couldn't send a drone across the river. Waiting for him to complain about that one.
I was thinking, Duke, with all the research you've done throughout your career, it seems to me that the Dogman phenomenon, right, It seems to be more of a Midwest thing because you get way more reports, Wisconsin, Michigan, Illinois, Indiana, than you would Montana, Wyoming, even the Pacific Northwest. Any validity to that, or
No,
you
I
think it's
totally
just
agree with you. I think your area there, Wisconsin, Illinois, some of Minnesota, those areas have had dogman reports for a long, long, long time. So it's nothing new. Dogman has been living over there. What surprised me is that they actually appear to be, and I still wouldn't have believed that there was dogman here if I didn't accidentally film them a couple of times. Like, okay, now I'm forced to believe because there they are. I got them on camera. They're right there. So yeah, apparently they are here. I don't think there's a ton of them or anything. I don't think they're that common, and they don't necessarily get along. It seems like there's like some groups of them that just don't want anything to do with anybody, and then there's other ones that'll actually tag around with some of these Sasquatch clans or tribes as long as they comply with their rules. Let's just say you gotta go by their rules. If you start doing things with your own rules and stuff, then they'll get out of our territory.
Right. Wow. Interesting. I do have a West Coast Dogman project, Shane Michael Crisp. I've heard him say that there's a dogman have been documented in all 50 states except for Hawaii. So I don't know how many that is, but
Well, it's the same thing with Bigfoot. I mean, there isn't really a good Bigfoot report from Hawaii either, although there's plenty of little person reports. I got Menahuni over there in the Big Island for sure.
And I got to tell you something: the little people or the what's the other one? The Puckwedgie, man. I tell you what, you know what, Duke? From what I've heard from you off air, I think I'd rather see a dog man than a Puckwedgie. Don't they just go after and attack? I mean, aren't they like little? I mean, they're fierce.
They're goblins. Yeah, they're little
like to mess with us,
goblinoids.
don't
They don't like humans. They had some kind of a grudge. It goes way back to this thing that happened on the East Coast a long time ago. And so ever since then, wherever you run into them, they're not going to be friendly. And even our local little people don't have that great of a reputation. The Nurumbi up here, it's better to stay away from them. Locals see a Bigfoot track or something, they're like, "Ooh, Bigfoot track." You see a little person tracks. Well, time to leave.
Yeah.
yeah.
Duke, you gave me the exclusive today. I see some more new people. We're coming to the end. I'm going to run your Krista, just because Christy Sci-Fi is now I'm calling you Christy. Krista, you want to run that clip one more time? We're getting close to the end of it, and I want the exclusive for all the people out here to look forward to what's coming up with Duke Sullivan. And while you're prepping that, Duke, what else you got going on here in the new future that you can let us know about?
Might be having the Boggy Creek Monster himself, Keith Crabtree, coming up to do another camp out this summer. We're still kind of like fingers crossed, hoping for the best on that one. I'd love to get him up here again. He'd love to be up here again. Other than that, toward the end of the month, me and my main research guy right now, Johnny, are going to go out and do a part of a week trip up to the Sapphire Mountains. And then it sounds like Viking is going to be available the end of the month to go up again. So we should have another interesting video coming up for next month with the August Field report. Other than that, I got the usual plethora of amazing guests that are going to be on my channel. I'm trying to get Sabila Irwin on here soon. Yeah. Udell Head, who took over Bob Dodson's research area after Bob died.
Oh.
And I've got a couple other people planned to have on here soon. So
yeah. And you mentioned Sabila Irwin. Everybody, I've got both renditions of my Bigfoot encounter done. I've got the humanoid looking Bigfoot that had the Down syndrome look done. And I've got, again, as I always say, I don't think Bigfoot's a demon, but when I had the encounter, it sure as hell looked like one when it metamorphosized. That's done as well. I'll be having her on in a while, and we're going to be doing a show on that and showing what BMR saw for the very first time. Now you all will have an opportunity to see what I saw June 15th of 2018.
I wish we would have that available for my show on Sunday.
Yeah, well,
but we did get to show the thing that I saw. So if you guys haven't seen that horrible thing yet and you want nightmares, you can go watch that show.
Wow.
Yeah, well, we will. I mean, it's going to be a month before I put that out because I gotta I'm still taking it. It's something, dude. It's 95%. It's what I seen. Both renditions. What I saw. Enough of me though. With that being said, hey Val, Krista, you want to run that one more time?
Yep.
Johnny Charlo in chat says, yes, we natives believe little people. That's my research partner right now. He's seen them. He hasn't seen a Bigfoot yet, but he's seen the little people.
Oh, okay. Christ. Oh, do I have to add that? Yeah, I do, I guess.
She's going to have to like lean way back and hold it up for us to even be able to see it.
That's a sizable cast there, Christy, if you're still out
One
there.
massive foot.
All right, we just crossed it.
Yeah, made it.
Yes, we made it. Going deeper into the bush. Beautiful little place. So show them how this is stuck in the ground.
I'm not
Pretty
touching
good.
it. We can't touch it.
Hold on. Just to show. You heard that?
Yeah, I heard that.
That might have been a tree falling, but we just heard
No
a,
tree falling, honey.
we just heard a loud. You heard that?
Yeah, I heard that. Ooh!
You can see the right eye, nose, and mouth side of the head on that one. That one's got a red face and it's a little unusual, weird looking.
Very nice, nice arrangement, Duke. Put together. Special thanks to Christy out there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great.
Music from the classic Western movie Once Upon a Time in the West for any of you kids that don't know about it. And throughout this documentary, you will hear many music scores from spaghetti westerns.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, each member of the team has their own individual music score. Even the drone has its own spaghetti western music score.
Very nice.
Mhm.
Duke, man. Everybody, that's the exclusively here on BMR. BMR and
Yeah.
Krista. We put it out. I'll look forward to that. And again, everybody, I know most of you have subscribed to World Bigfoot Radio. If not, what are you waiting for? After the show ends, go subscribe. Duke has so many great, and Duke puts together video clips. He puts together his narration. I mean, he's doing the boots on the ground. He's always been doing the work for many, many years. And it's one of the more unique, it's a very unique channel. It's not just, a bunch of pictures, a bunch of little video. There's a story behind everything that he does. And he's got legitimate researchers on there that he's known over the decades. So it is a great watch. I don't find any of your shows boring at all. And you also have Duke Chat, which I was on, and we just kind of we kick back and he shoots the bull with researchers or podcasters like myself. So yeah, you gotta check out Duke. Duke, I gotta thank you, man, for coming on. I really do appreciate taking the time. I know you're a busy guy, a lot of things going on. Everybody subscribe to World Bigfoot Radio. Subscribe to the Blondes, the Booze, the Paranormal Podcast. Don't forget my book. Here it is. I know many of you've bought it. Bigfoot Mystery Rob Presents True Cryptid Encounters Book 1. The link is in the chat and it's pinned up at the top. I appreciate everybody that bought it. And I love each and every single one of you. Any final notes before we leave, Duke?
Yeah, love all you guys. Love Rob's show. Sometimes I'm not up early enough because I work until like 4 o'clock in the morning. And I do love it when I get to see his show. One time I held off a Bigfoot research expedition until the show was over so we could watch it before we left.
Yeah.
And out of all of the shows out there, Rob's is by far the earliest.
It is. It is.
True story.
Yeah, mountain sky, Montana sky isn't very high for Duke at 10 o'clock in the morning. I'll tell you that. I appreciate you, brother.
I always love being on your show. I always enjoyed it. And thanks a lot for being on my show on Sunday and doing such a great job. If any of you missed it, you want to go see it because super entertaining BMR on there, talking all about the Cryptid Encounters book and bemoaning the fact at that point that he didn't even have one to show on camera.
I did not. I just got this a couple days ago. People are sending me messages. Rob, your book's awesome. I'm like, great, thanks. I haven't got a copy yet. I ordered my book like 10 days ago and people got it in 3 days. Krista got it within 2 days. Hey, Rob.
No, I actually got it. I ordered it and I had it the very next day.
Gosh.
Yeah, Rob's copy, they just duct taped it to the back of a tortoise and went, that way, boy, that way.
Well,
Right.
and it came on Amazon truck, and the guy delivered it from Maryland of all places. And and here's the thing, in Detroit, we have a major Amazon hub. So I just don't get that, man. It's just like my internet I don't get. Hey, I didn't freeze up. Oh, my trademark freezing did not happen. So
It didn't today. We're good today.
And Krista, yeah, we're good. Thanks, Krista. You got Barry Littleton on tonight, and Barry is fascinating. You guys, you go watch Krista and Brandy. Barry Littleton, he's a fantastic guy. Duke, you got to get him on your show too, because he's got a lot of knowledge. A very cool guy. That'll be a cool show. Subscribe to the Blondes and Booze, Bigfoot Rob, Duke Sullivan, and for Duke and for Krista, I'm BMR. And until next time, have a fantastic day.
See y'all.